Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Allan, and today we're here to talk about the Challenge 40 Battle of the Eras Episode 2. We got a whole bunch of eliminations to talk about. I'm joined by my lovely Southern co-host, Luke Muncie.
What's up, guys?
And we're also joined by the newly married Zoe Trimboli.
Hi, everyone.
Before we talk about today's episode, I'm taking Zoe's marriage as a time to talk about her and myself just a little bit. Luke wants to as well. But when I saw the pictures that Zoe got married, I was talking to my friend like, man, my friend Zoe just got married this morning, and I was like, oh, like you can go to it? Like, well, she lives in Vermont. She's across the globe. It's a whole thing. And I explained to them like, I've known Zoe since I was 20 years old. I've known her since I was like 20, 21. She's been following my blogs from like when I had like 300 followers, and she'd always been supportive of me. And then I explained like, yeah, now we have a podcast. And it's like, how do you have a podcast? Well, during the pandemic, during COVID, we would Zoom me, Zoe, and Luke for hours. And because there was like, we would talk about like, what did you do today? Well, I stayed in. And it's just, you're a true friend. You've been part of my life for such a long time. You've seen me grow, and I've gotten to see you grow. And I'm just really happy for you because you're one of the best humans I know. And yeah, I'm glad you have love in your life because you are a true friend and just someone I cherish.
Oh, Allan, thank you. That's so sweet.
I fully co-sign. I'll keep this brief. I told Zoe this. If there's anybody that is deserving of love, it is Zoe. She extends love and grace and just kindness to everybody, even if they don't deserve it. Even if I don't deserve it, she still extends it and tries to offer an ear. And I think that her husband is a lucky guy because he hit the jackpot in terms of wives. She's top tier, wonderful human, and I'm so happy for her.
You guys are so sweet. That's so nice.
And as your wedding gift, we get to talk some shit about Aneesa in this podcast today.
Talking about how like sweet and kind I am, and now I have to really like try and live up to that. Well, I'm gonna I really probably am also gonna talk some smack. So I hope everyone gives me grace for being a bit of a bitch in the next hour.
Yeah.
That's why I love Zoe, because she has she has a quality filter, and if you do not hit the quality filter, she might not give you the time of day. So I'm glad that me and Luke have passed that, and now we get a podcast with her because she's got great opinions. I can't wait to hear her talk smack about Aneesa. Let's jump into the episode. Challenge 40. Episode 2. We saw the whole beginning last week. They threw us straight into the arena where we see people walking into elimination in their jerseys. And I was like, for a second, I was wondering, like, did I miss something? Did I miss like 10 minutes of the episode? Did they fast forward? Because we basically saw the decisions from the deliberations, even though we didn't see them last week, here as we go into this arena that has all these different eliminations. What were you guys thinking in this moment?
The same thing. I was like, wait a second, did I start the wrong episode? Like, what's going on here? They could have made them change in the arena, but like it also felt right off the bat like they are getting to the point here because there is not a lot of time. And I was scared the episode would suck. I loved the episode, and I think the way they formatted it, which we'll touch on as we go, was brilliant. Yeah, it was a little bit wonky for them to come out in their uniforms, but like the flashbacks and all that, it like was perfect. I was hooked the entire time.
Yeah, it was an interesting editing tactic. I was definitely thrown off. Same exact thing. Like, did I miss something? Did I miss like the beginning chunk of the episode? Once I realized what was happening, though, I was like, I feel pretty good that we assumed correctly how everything was going to go. I was really holding out hope that Amanda was not going into the elimination. That was like, I knew that was blind optimism and like just a desperate prayer on my part. But other than that, I was like, yeah, okay, that was pretty predictable based on what we saw last week.
Yeah.
We talked about it. I mean, going back to the launch special, like really good editing this season. It's been actually shocking to see how well the show has been edited so far. Because the way this editing format worked is that they didn't treat us like idiots. They treated us like, okay, here's this thing, but we're going to show you how we got here. And it worked out really well in the episode rather than having like 30 minutes of dragged out deliberations. Like we jumped straight into the action, and then learned about stuff after. I'm just so used to them treating me like an idiot in the edit that I got thrown off guard. But overall, worked really well. In the elimination arena, they got 4 classic eliminations. And I don't know if you guys noticed or remember this, but like I think 6 months ago, a year ago, they put out a poll online asking fans to like rate what the best eliminations are, and it seems like it played a factor into here of like the 4 eliminations we got, which were Balls In, Hall Brawl, Pole Wrestle, and the jail elimination, which is essentially a variation of Not So Fast.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I really would have preferred Not So Fast in place of one of those physical eliminations, just to give other people a chance. Like having 3 very physical eliminations kind of stacks the deck against a certain kind of competitor. So I really was hoping Not So Fast would be one of them. But as someone that also just like eats up the physical eliminations on this show, it was a feast.
Yeah, agree. And a positive way to listen to fan input.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit imbalanced, and I was a little bit afraid, like, oh my god, we kind of like blew the load on headbangers because we're giving the 3 biggest ones from the jump. Are we not going to see them again for the rest of the season? And yeah, I would have liked to see Not So Fast, or even that the hog tie elimination that Leroy and Nani played against Naya. Leroy and Naya played against Nani and Bananas in, and they used it later on Double Agents, because I think that's an elimination that kind of is like physical, but not like the person who's bigger isn't necessarily going to automatically win.
Yeah, there's a athleticism and fitness that you need for that.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have more variance, but we got 4 iconic eliminations regardless. I do want to know before we go into this. Balls In, they changed the rules. They changed the rules at the end. They did it in the final Ride or Dies.
Mm.
And that's like, so if you can't tell at home, because Balls In was the same way for literally 20 years, and now the way it is that if you get into a little semicircle by the goal, you can score without being tackled. The problem of that is that you do have to like stop yourself and then do it, which is why we got really mad at Nani during the Ride or Dies final when she like wouldn't stop and just kept slamming the ball into the goal and missing it. That pissed us off a lot. And that's why I was a little bit confused at times going on in this elimination where it's like, wait, why isn't that person tackling that person right now? So I don't know why they changed the rules of this. I guess it does add interesting wrinkles of it, of like, you can't just completely just defend the rim. But I don't know. They changed the rules and I'm not sure if I like it.
I hate it. I feel really strongly that I hate it. I just think it's weak. I think it's bringing it down to like this like PG JV wimpy level that whatever, if someone slams their head into this like garbage can, so be it. They're wearing helmets, like they're gonna be fine. Like let them get roughed up, let them get a scrape, whatever. Like these people have paid or will pay for plenty of plastic surgery, so that's like worst case scenario, right? Like
Right.
I just think it makes it so anticlimactic, and it again gives that further advantage to the bigger person, because all they have to do is get there. And if all they have to do is get there, that little person at least could like have a chance to like press them down and hold them down. I also didn't like, I think in past iterations of this elimination, when you drop the ball, it was dead, period.
Yeah.
And I think that should have been the case also.
Yeah, they change the rules here or there, and sometimes it feels like it's case by case, even if who's competing, or like what would be the most entertaining thing. Um, we just want consistency, and we don't want it to be watered down.
I just wanted the person I wanted to stay. That's what it boiled down to. So
I feel like production was even wanting that as well at times. Now let's jump straight into the eliminations. First one we got Amanda and Naya in Balls In, and
David and Goliath.
Corey. Yeah. Before that, we'll mention Tori got her in. Corey turned her back on her, and there's a moment with Amanda cursing out Corey in front of the entire house. And the best part about it is the entire house is just eating it up. You have Nurys having fun watching it, Jordan's having fun watching it, Tina's having fun watching it. Literally like 3 different eras of the show, enjoying it. And it's as we said, Amanda Garcia is your reality TV star's favorite reality TV star because they all watched her and they're like, that person is entertaining. She's bringing liveness to the house and she's real.
And not only was it entertaining, it made sense. And what made me mad is Corey kept saying, "You can't keep giving me this whole Nelly T thing." I'm sure that's something they discussed in private before. Well, not even in private, but when cameras weren't rolling, and then he changed his tune. Why would you, as Corey, not choose to save Amanda, knowing that she's also close with Devin, that she's got numbers in era 4, and it seems like era 2 even? Why keep Avery, who is so disconnected, is obviously going to have Jordan's back above yours and Naya's? And if you really wanted to force Tori's hand, you could say, I'm keeping Amanda, you can keep, or I'm keeping Avery, you're keeping Amanda, and it'll go to a stalemate and Tori would go in. Like, it made me so mad. Like, he doesn't think.
He's stupid. He's dumb. And even if like this in some version of this, he's trying to stay in Tori's good graces, again, you're not going to replace Devin and Jordan for her. You're always the third man on the totem pole. So like there is no reason for you to be kissing Tori's ass in this scenario. It was like he wanted Amanda to like come out with this perfect script of you are my number one and I will do anything to protect you, when she was basically saying that. She was like, I have no one, you have no one, let's have each other. And I just thought it was so stupid on his part.
Yeah.
And a point I just realized too is he could have just told Tori, well, Nia is going to have John A. and Avery's back before she has yours as well. And I think like that's where Tori isn't even thinking either. Even though Amanda hates her, like Avery, Nia, John A. They've done seasons together. They have a bond going back. I mean, Avery and Nia have been friends for a decade since their fight on Portland. So, break up that alliance real quick. And if you're like, again, like Amanda said it, like, why are you so afraid of me? Like, and the way Tori is cheering in this elimination for Nia, just going crazy in the crowd, you would think Amanda's a 7-time champion.
Well, and let me just say too, and I know you're thinking it as well. You're probably about to say, both of you, Tori is so bothered by Amanda, like in ways that I've actually not seen many people on the show get bothered by someone else, while Amanda just flips her hair. Like, she's visibly flustered, like cannot handle it. She doesn't love that TJ thinks that Amanda's funny. Like, she hates her. And I know this stems from things Amanda tweeted, which may or may not be backed in truth. They're alleged things that have been going around for years, but like, I don't get it. And I truly believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, both of you, because I could be. I feel like if Tori said to Amanda, I don't like you either. If I save you this time, this first elimination, will you save me if it's me on the line? I think Amanda would say, yep, I'll throw in Nia or Avery. Maybe not John A., but the other two.
Yeah, I mean, Tori was like sputtering at points that she's so affected by Amanda. Amanda can just look at her and say one thing and it's like watching a 12-year-old try to argue. It's kind of embarrassing for her. Like it's like everything Amanda said, Tori would just be like, so like I felt secondhand embarrassed for her. I will say this. I think that Amanda can and does obviously go below the belt sometimes in the way that she attacks some of her castmates in arguments. I think some of the way she comments on Tori's body is not cool. I think that like the low blows are not called for. I don't think she needs to take it there. But I also like it's who she is, okay? Like, and that's part of what makes her such a dynamic TV character. And I think Tori has legitimate reasons to be really bothered by Amanda, but she's got to find a different way to express it on TV because it just makes her look pathetic. Like, you are the better competitor. You are the champion. You are the person that people want. Act like it. Like, don't let this girl bother you so much. Go to therapy and figure it out. I know that you love therapy. Like, figure this out with your therapist, homie. Like,
This is the season of the strong women. You got Cara, you got Laurel, you got Emily, you got Jenny. Tori should be doing her best to be on their levels, to be in rivalries with them. And by letting Amanda get the better of her, she's not even in conversation with those people, and when she wants to be regarded as like one of the faces, one of the best players herself. So if you're letting Amanda get the best of you, then we can't even talk about the other players.
Mm.
Talk about the actual elimination though, because I think it's probably one of the most shocking just experiences just to watch I've ever had in an elimination. You got Amanda, who's 5'3", 107 pounds, works as a nurse. She's a mom, doesn't put a lot of time in the gym these days. Um, Going against Naya, who's 6'1", a former Division One like collegiate athlete, like which gets a bit forgotten.
What
Um,
sport again?
Volleyball.
That's what I thought.
Um, like Naya had the size advantage, she had the weight advantage, she had the speed advantage. There's just no world where Amanda should be able to do anything in this elimination. Amanda, though, the elimination gets going. She runs around the semicircle, runs around the semicircle. She's just kind of terrified, not sure what to do, just kind of waiting. Naya pushes her before she passes the line of scrimmage, which, that would set like a penalty or a restart. And Amanda, she gestures to TJ like, hey, that's illegal, that's illegal. And Naya kind of throws up her hands like, oh no, I did mess up. The moment she does, Amanda puts her foot on the gas, gets to the little semicircle, and scores a point. And it was a legitimate point. She outsmarted Naya. She took advantage of her moment of weakness, and it was brilliant.
I was so proud of her in that moment because I was like, this is legitimately the only way that she might be able to score. I also think, and I know Naya is a D1 athlete, I think this showed a sincere lack of athleticism on Naya's part. Like, she just looked clumsy in that moment. And I think she was caught off guard. And I'm sure any of us could look clumsy in moments like that, especially with those stakes and what's on the line. But Amanda scoring that point, she already defied the odds of what people expected in this elimination. So that was I was so happy for her. Such a good look.
I knew the outcome of this elimination, but I was like in my house, like, all right, Amanda, get it together. Like, just hoping like that the spoilers were wrong. But I was proud of her. Even if she did it by taking advantage of the situation, okay, good. Like, that's what you should be doing.
I've always said that like Amanda would be an incredible pro wrestler. In that like she could just go on a mic, talk shit to someone. She doesn't need to win, but she just demeans them with words. And then in a fake sport where you could like kind of cheat to get points and win, like she would be great at that. Because in this moment, like was it her goal in this eliminate? Was that her strategy at all to do what she did? No, but the moment the opportunity was there, Amanda took advantage of it, and that's just the player she is. She showed a lot of fierceness, and then going into that second round, like going into like having to play defense, Naya was shitting bricks that she just got a point scored on her by Amanda. Like she was standing in that circle, like not knowing, like, should I go left, should I go right? And Tori's just yelling, like, just go through her. Just literally go through her because you're 6 feet tall. She's 5'3". There's nothing you need to just run straight through her. And Naya still couldn't even really do that properly in her first attempt. Amanda takes her, like, kind of brings her down, and then she tries to just she dives for the point and misses the dunk at the rim.
And that's when I wanted a dead ball.
Yeah, which made complete sense.
Especially the ball got pretty far outside like the court. It bounced multiple times. It should have ended right then and there. Had it not, Naya probably still would have won this elimination as they would have dragged it out and it would have been tied up and it would have gone to sudden death and so on and so forth. But man, that moment where she missed the point after not after Amanda scored it in just like the most outrageous way possible. I mean, I thought Tori shit her pants. Like literally looking at her in the crowd during that moment, like I mean, my jaw was on the ground.
I was so happy there for a second.
It really like I'm so hopeful. I had such high hopes in that moment. And I legitimately, when Naya missed, I got stoked because I was like, oh, dead ball. Like, I didn't realize that's not how they were playing it. So that really bummed me out. I would have loved to
From
see Amanda on her second offensive try just start running laps.
I thought the same thing. And then look for a moment where
yeah.
Naya's tired and just go in.
Take advantage of those vape lungs, like really just run laps around the circle.
It's true.
Or even just like bite forward, see if you can get her to trip or just something. I mean, we saw Amanda kind of do something like similar to this in her elimination with Nicole Z back on Invasion, where she just kind of was outsmarting her at times, even though her opponent had the physical edge. And it's great to see she still has that in her. The rest of the elimination went as we expected, where again, it's like there's just no world where Nia should lose to Amanda in this elimination. She gets the win, and I think Nia should honestly be like, I hate to say this, but like Nia should not be like proud of this performance at all. Like Amanda scored 8 point on her, and I know it was like she mentally fumbled, but still, you shouldn't. This should have been the most easy 2-0 win ever. Amanda should be proud. Nia, congrats, you guys stay in the game, but you shouldn't be pumping your chest about it.
If I'm the other women on this cast, especially someone who's got decent strength size to them, I'm not afraid of Nia in elimination after this. I think like Olivia shouldn't be scared of her. Like none of those. I mean, Michelle maybe still because she's tiny, but like Era 4 is not scared of her. The other, I don't think John A should be scared of her. She's not impressive in this moment.
I don't think any of them, except for maybe Michelle, just size wise, should be concerned.
Yeah.
If you put Amanda's brain in Nia's body, that would be like a champion level competitor. I mean, because
Yeah.
like if you could see what Amanda could do against these odds versus what Nia's doing with all her talents and abilities, like
I was happy to hear Naya, as well as pretty much everybody interviewed, talk about how Tori doesn't really like Amanda, but we have no problem with her. Like it was like again and again and again, we kept hearing that. And I know I'm backtracking, but like that just even further makes Tori look obsessed.
She needs to work it out. She needs to figure out a way to be unbothered because it's not a good look for her. It just looks sad.
Yeah. Devin tells Amanda good game after. He's proud of her, which I wish we could have seen some more of them, which we did, I guess, in the launch special. But gosh, huge loss right off the
I'm
bat.
gonna miss her so much.
you're not excited by the idea of the Nia and Josh and Nia and Kylan love triangle.
So, okay, I'm glad you said that. We did get that really forced confessional of like, here's Colin, here's Josh. Nia looks like a beast. She doesn't. I said last week, and I still maintain, if Amanda had stayed, her and Colin, something was brewing. I was watching the background of the scenes. That could have been interesting television. But okay, sure, they're gonna hook up. We saw it in the trailer. It's like, okay, great. Grass
It's funny.
grows.
Yeah, it's funny for their team dynamic, especially knowing both of those guys' personalities. I'm curious how that will pan out on TV. But yeah, okay. I get it. Nia is a beautiful woman. She is a beautiful woman. And shoot your shot, boys.
Well, let's move into the second male eliminate or the second balls in elimination era 3 elimination. Leroy versus Tony and balls in. I've talked about it before. Leroy was like the first person I was ever a fan of on the challenge. Like I had watched his real world season prior. He was a rookie on Rivals 1. That was my first challenge season. Big fan, stayed a fan for a whole decade. When he retired on Double Agents, I got emotional. I got sad. Watching this elimination, should have stayed fucking retired, buddy. Should have stayed retired.
He looked old for the first time. Like, I think he looked really old. And I know Tony's got size on him, but Leroy is also the guy we've seen like physically, like we've seen him like murk people. Like he is a beast, and to see him handled by Tony so easily, I was just like, okay, you don't got it anymore.
Well, when I knew the spoiler that Leroy left, I thought he must have just let Tony have it so he could go home. No, Tony like was in
Manhandled.
control the entire time. Like even if Leroy wanted to throw it, he didn't have the opportunity because Tony already threw it for him. Like, sorry.
Yeah, it was blowout.
for a good decade on the show, Leroy was one of the strongest, most brute physical forces like this show has ever seen. You think back that Rivals 2 elimination, they lost against Marlon and Jordan in that hall brawl, but like Leroy, like Marlon played high level collegiate football where he was on the number 2 team in the nation, was second on that team in tackles, and Leroy took him all the way back to the bell. Ty just couldn't score the final point. But like Leroy was just squashing a former collegiate football player with no football experience himself. Like that was the type of athlete he was. And he said it before the eliminations, like, well, Tony's always been kind of slow-footed. He's always like, I'm gonna beat him real easy. Tony just destroyed him. And Tony, this is like as bad as Leroy looked, this is probably the most impressive Tony's ever looked in the elimination arena in his career. That's a 6'3", 230-pound man right there. Like he put in work.
Like I hesitate to give Tony too much credit, which I don't want to like. I do respect Leroy as a competitor. I do really like him, and he has been a physical beast. But Tony just screams goofy to me. So like I hesitate to be super impressed. I'm more just disappointed in Leroy because like I never look at Tony and think, oh, that's an athletic man, or like he because of the size difference. Like oh, I don't know. I was expecting it to be more of a challenge. I'm bummed again.
It had me, yeah, I'm bummed as well. It had me questioning how many of these men Tony actually could have beat. Because like I don't think it was just because Leroy looks old. Like I think he really just like was super motivated. But I'm with you, Zoe. I'm bummed. I think out of these two matchups, I would have rather kept Amanda and Leroy.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder like how Tony would look against in the same elimination against like Nehemiah. Because I'm like
Yeah, because Nehemiah's fast on his feet. That'd be really interesting to watch. I actually would prefer Tony being here because he seems to kind of have just a perpetual chip on his shoulder, which I think is just good for TV. Of like, he's mad that Bananas is cheering for Leroy, which Leroy's been his number one for over a decade. But it's just he's mad at Corey, he's mad at Bananas. Like he just like I like the concept of Tony just trying to like play for himself and getting mad at people because Leroy isn't going to do that. He's just going to be friends with who he's been friends with for a decade.
That's true.
Yeah, that I was like wanted to throw things at him on my TV, listening to him whine about Bananas, cheering for. I legitimately think Leroy is Johnny's only challenge friend. The rest are like colleagues. Leroy is his friend. I believe that wholeheartedly. So Tony getting all worked up about that was just insane to me.
Yeah.
And I did give Tony credit, but I do want to say best elimination performance by him, and that's more credit to like he's often shit the bed in eliminations, even losing to Ammo back in the day on Dirty 30. People don't forget. Moving in though, we next have pole wrestle. We got Mark versus Derek, and in my notes I wrote pole wrestling, more like pro wrestling, because I want to believe that Derek won this on his own merit. I think that Derek did play this elimination exactly how you're supposed to in terms of form and when you're the smaller opponent. But the second Mark Long did that front flip somersault over Derek, I just couldn't take this elimination seriously anymore.
Go for it, Zoe.
Well, I do think that Mark Long has show muscles to an extent, right? Like I do think that it's a bit of popcorn there sometimes. And I think like we've seen with bigger men, while they can be very strong, they also get fatigued very quickly. So I think that, yeah, Mark can lift more than Derek, but I think Derek's endurance is significantly better. I'm with you. I think that this was really great acting on Mark's part, perhaps, but I'm not ready to take away credit from Derek because I do think he played this to perfection. His strategy was on point. He was keeping that pole close to his body and just wearing Mark out. And like, if there's anyone who I have enough history with of watching in this elimination to believe that they could overcome the odds, it's Derek. So like it works for me, but I will, and it's also Mark's history too. Like we can't help but be skeptical about what happened because he's thrown so many challenges and so many eliminations in the past.
I was going to say the same, and I said it last week. I'd like to think they'd like just gave this a fair shot, but I think that Mark knows that he was not winning this season. I think there's a world where he does, but like I think it's a lot on his body. I think he wants to get back to Boca Raton where he does his amateur wrestling, whatever it was. And I think he said, Derek, you had bad moments, like Allan said last week, with the whole Nehemiah West thing on All Stars. I'll let you have this moment. Just let me do a flip. Just let me do a flip.
So you talked about like we've seen Derek do this. 24 months ago, I watched Nehemiah beat the brakes off of Derek in a pole wrestle, which they did not put in the montage of Derek's pole wrestle highlights. Like very curiously, he was 1-2 before this pole wrestle in pole wrestles ever. So like, yes, he's synonymous with it. Yes, he's a beast, but it's like he's very beatable in it. And I think Derek is very clearly like the skinniest he's ever been on one of these shows in a long time. I think Mark could have power bombed him like pretty immediately into the sand if he wanted to. But I don't think Mark also wanted to do that because that's a brother to him.
Yeah, he didn't want him. I also, full disclosure, just finished rewatching The Duel. So, like, there's a lot of Derek highlight reel. So I'm coming into this with, like, a little bit of rose-colored glasses with Derek right now, because that's, like, what's in my short-term memory. Yeah, I think the storyline lines up for it to be not the most real thing we've seen on TV. But I'm willing to give Derek a little bit of the benefit of the doubt just because I think he's earned it.
Yeah.
Love the guy. Love both men. I think they both gave 100% in terms of giving us the best show we could watch. The front flip was real cool. It was real cool. Then we got, I think, one of the most shocking pole wrestle eliminations ever, between Aneesa and Katie. And do you want to jump into that, or do you want to talk about Aneesa's reaction first to getting voted in?
Let's talk about Aneesa's reaction. I cannot, oh my God, I cannot stand her. Rachel was giving her logic that made sense, but read between the lines. You're the worst on the team. Like, quit trying to make her tell you that you're not. And the whole, like, we used to date. My mom likes her. Who cares? And then when Rachel was trying to speak with her and she was like, I just want to talk to my friend. And like looked at Tori as if Tori hasn't been living in Miami, like seeing Rachel daily for the past 2 years. I'm like, Aneesa, you have lost your mind.
She irks me to no end. Like, talk about getting bothered by a human. I get so bothered by Aneesa. Listening to her like cry about Rachel feeling betrayed. I'm like, you know who Rachel's also good friends with? Veronica. And you know what happened one of the last times you and Veronica were on TV together? You did some really grimy, weird, predatory shit towards Veronica. So as much as you and Rachel might be friends, you're not closer to Tina with her. You're not closer to Veronica. As a viewer, I haven't forgotten that. I still get the ick from you watching you be near any of your competitors because I think you're gross. And Jody simply has a pedigree that proves she's so much better at this game than you. And legitimately, like, you can just look at her and see, oh, she's still in shape and can do things. I said it last week. Even at Aneesa's most fit, she was never good at this. Like, she's never been good at the challenge. So, I don't think she's playing a part. I do think she legitimately has no self-awareness. She's completely delusional. She is a moron, and she deserves to be in a track star elimination soon because I just can't. I can't.
Well, can I take Zoe's momentum? Because Zoe, you're talking about lack of awareness. Aneesa said the most ridiculous shit this episode, where she said, I have all the elements that you need of winning a challenge championship. It just has never happened for me when I could have done it, when I didn't give it. And it's like, you know what the biggest component you need to win? Being in shape and having the cardio to run a fucking final, which you don't.
She can't run a quarter mile.
I forget what season it was when they had to run an 800, like a little 800, and she was walking.
Like, stop.
And I love that
heard people
Rachel said
mention,
like it wasn't gonna be Jody. Like it just wasn't.
it shouldn't be, especially if you're ever going to compete against the other eras and you need someone that could actually, go physically toe to toe with a Tori. Like you need them. If you're going to go physically toe to toe with a Cara, Laurel, Emily.
I'm just like picturing them doing some sort of like obstacle course challenge as a team and having to get her over a wall. Like,
The last time she hopped a wall, she fell and dislocated her shoulder and was disqualified from the game. Like, hello, Aneesa.
I can't.
And
I
as we
was
say this,
as all that to say is I was desperately rooting for Katie to perform some sort of miracle performance in this elimination.
because that's the most like crazy part about this is that you're facing Katie in elimination and like which is almost like a guaranteed win. Aneesa, you got to break your elimination record. You got to face her in a pole wrestle where Aneesa, like Katie, is the size of one of your thighs, and that's not even me being hyperbolic. It just they walked in that arena and it was just such a massive size difference. Like Katie's so tiny, they're playing a pole wrestle, and the most unbelievable shit in the world happens. And Katie's just hanging in there. At one point, like I think she only had one hand on the pole. She gets the second hand back on, and then she starts to choke Aneesa with her legs. And it was the whole crowd went wild. Literally, people in the arena started running up towards them. They were so excited.
Zoe, as someone who didn't know spoilers, what was going through your head?
I said, what if Katie just chokes her out right now? And she like wins. I was like, Katie could just make her pass out. Like, just hold this position as long as you can, Katie. Like, I think she did like talk about doing everything in your power to win. Like Katie was like, well, I can't compete with you upper body, so I'm going to use my lower body. And the way she was like contorting herself and doing everything she could, I was so proud of her. Like so impressed. I was hoping for a miracle. It would have been amazing.
I was hard on Katie last week. I think rightfully so. We all kind of were because like she didn't seem to try that hard, and I think she was embarrassed. I thought she was going to give up easy. She really tried. Like she was like, I didn't want a physical, but maybe that's what I did need. I feel like in that moment, spark came back to her, and she's like, I can do this. Of course, you can't do that when Aneesa regains control and puts her entire body weight on you. Which that's in the first round. Okay.
Yeah.
Aneesa wins, and I'm sorry for jumping ahead, but this is the funniest moment of the entire episode when they are lining up to do the second round, and you hear Amanda scream, "Don't let her sit on you again!" I had to go back several times, like, who's saying this? And then I was like, of course, it's Amanda. But like, that is the strategy Aneesa had, which I mean, fair, like it's a winning strategy, but like,
It was in that moment I was so grateful that people got to hang around and watch the other eliminations after they lost, because I was like, Amanda's commentary and just the fact that her being there made the rest of these eliminations so much more fun. And she said what we were all thinking, like, do everything you can not to be sat on.
and then Aneesa thrusts her entire body, like hurls it. Like they give us multiple shots and crowd reactions of her throwing her body on Katie. And then it was like, okay, well, this is over.
I don't know why Katie was setting up side to side with her and not like face to face. I don't think that helped either, because Aneesa just had all this like momentum and like body positioning literally before it even started. But I don't think there was anything Katie could have done. I think she again outperformed what everyone's expectations were of her. So proud of her. I wish she could have choked Aneesa out. It would have been amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
I would say throughout all these eliminations, I was always watching CT because I think CT's face was very telling. During the Mark and Derek elimination, he was not smiling at all. because that was to me like the sign of like there's kind of something fishing going on. Because CT's like, this is not like a real pole wrestle. And then when Katie put her legs around Aneesa, CT was like, okay, she might not win, but this is the best part of my day. Um, when she did it too, Kara had like a face of shock, which was like everyone was posting that face of shock when the trailer originally came out, and they thought it would be like, oh, she got voted into elimination. Oh, someone did something crazy. No, it was Katie choking out Aneesa with her legs.
I loved it.
It was the best. It might have been my favorite part of the whole episode, honestly.
And with Aneesa winning, like I think she's got a real shot of winning the season.
Shut the fuck up. She did technically break Carmaria's elimination record temporarily.
What
So
that's also so pathetic. I know we addressed this last week. I need to reiterate Aneesa being excited about having as many or more elimination wins as Kara when she has just as many losses is nothing. It's nothing to be excited about. And let's be real, most of her elimination wins have come from just being bigger than her opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Please.
It's Hall Brawl time. And these were, I think, well, we had Theo versus Paulie. Did anything? Okay, Paulie lied. Paulie did a thing where he lied, where he said, "You know me as the guy who came in, went to 3 straight finals," and I was like, "No, you didn't. You didn't go to 3 straight finals. You missed the final of War of the Worlds 1 because you choked in the final purge, and they even showed a highlight of it where you look cool there, but you choked in that. You like had one of the most embarrassing choke jobs I've ever seen."
Yep.
And the other part, which I had to explain to my husband, was that he made the final in Final Reckoning because they lost so many eliminations because people kept choosing them to compete against to get back into the house because they were a layup. Like he only made it to the final because he lost 3 eliminations.
Yeah. Okay, so to set the stage, unfortunately, we do have to talk a little bit about who goes in for Era 2 for the women. But let me tell you, this was peak television, and Allan, I promise there's a method to my madness here. Okay. We find out that Kara is going in against Kellyanne. She goes and tells Paulie, there's this big spiral we can come back to when we get to Kara. But Polly's there consoling her. And in the middle of the chaos, in walks Michelle. And it's like, Pat, hey, I just wanted to let you know you're going into elimination. I'm like, this is not the time. But then Paulie acted upset as if he wasn't the person begging to go in.
I have to imagine, again, things were left on the cutting room floor in that room because he, like, what else did you expect them to do? And you also have to know that, like, Josh is the master of pre-gaming, too. So, you know, he came in there with as many connections as possible. So you could pitch it to him all you want, but no one's going to trust you. And he's toxic. Like, he does not scream team unity ever. I know that there's a lot of people that like him and have relationships with him, but like he is also always self-producing. He's always looking for an angle. So that is going to not be fun to be on a team with.
And I want to point out 2 things that I thought the editing did great with. Several times throughout this, we saw Amanda just being messy, getting her entire life at the stuff. There was one scene where it was like her, Theo, and Josh, and I was like, that meme or tweet, whatever. It's like, think of the 3 messiest people you know. It's them, right? It's them.
Yeah.
And then we get a shot of Aneesa giving Theo a body massage. I'm like, what is your angle? Like getting him ready for his elimination. Aneesa, you have an elimination to worry about. Like,
she was all over him in the pool too. I think episode 0 or like 1 as well. I think she was trying to make her move before. I mean, Olivia caught his eye, obviously. We didn't really go too deeply into it last week. We kind of mentioned it, but Paulie going to this elimination is such a misstep on Nurys and Horacio's game because Theo's like he saw it like, okay, if Paulie goes in, even if I lose, you guys still have a good chance of controlling the numbers. And if I win, we're going to control the numbers on our era no matter what. Um, Nurys and Horacio, though, all they cared about was who was Nurys going to face in elimination. We got to protect her. We got to protect her. And so they didn't see that the attack on Paulie was an attack on them and Kyland in a way where if they had the three of them plus Paulie, they would have had at least half the numbers on their team. I think that they should have basically cut a deal with Michelle and been like, hey, we won't throw Olivia in. You throw in Jenny, or you throw in Jenny, because even though Jenny is scary to face, you're probably losing to Olivia in anything physical anyway. So might as well take the bigger shot, and that way, if Paulie's there, it's better for Horacio's game. But they weren't thinking like that because they went into self-preservation mode, and Theo took advantage of this.
Yeah,
and they were only seeing what was. I was just gonna say they were only seeing what was right in front of them.
Yeah, and I just don't think that Horacio cares that much, or as much as Nurys. I think he cares, but I think Nurys cares more. Like she's wanted this for a long time, whereas Horacio just happened to be an alternate on Ride or Dies and like has had some success. I think he definitely was trying to put her first without realizing, like Zoe said, the bigger picture. Like it was what was right here. Paulie was talking his shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you a headbanger. Yeah. Oh,
let's talk about. Let's jump right into it. Look, I'm not the most patriotic American ever, but I will say, watching Paulie get out football tackled by Theo, just not even knowing anything about leverage or anything like that, just the way he got bowled over in this elimination, it made me embarrassed to be an American. It felt like 1775 again. Like Theo just demolished him, ran through him. Any legacy that Paulie might have had on this show has been very much hurt by this elimination. You should have stayed banned, buddy.
Well, and this is like I think the most thick, muscular version of Paulie we've seen too. And so to see him get completely flattened, so embarrassing for him.
Multiple angles. Like we see it several times. And like Aneesa almost suffocating Katie in one swift blow, we also get the audience reaction, including Cara, who looks so disappointed in Paulie. I was like, that is embarrassing.
I've always thought Theo is such a tough Hallbro opponent, not even because his size and strength, but just his speed, where he can get so far down the hallway before his opponents. And then if it comes down to a foot race, he's going to beat them. But there was always the factor of you could get low on him, you get the leverage, he's a bit lanky. This is also the most muscular version of Theo because he looks like 20 to 30 pounds, bigger muscular wise. Even had a little bit of a tummy on him, I think, when he was shirtless. Not in a bad way, but like he's like no longer in pro sprinter mode, but he's still very fast and he's just putting on muscle and it's becoming real scary.
Yeah. Like after the first round, I was like, well, this is a wrap.
The opposite effect of Naya's elimination, right? Like I think Theo looks very formidable after this. I think people don't always take Paulie super seriously, but I mean, I don't think anyone expected him to get completely embarrassed like that. Like that was unreal.
Yeah. And I think
CT even joked. CT joked like, "Oh, Paulie's gonna smoke you, buddy." And I think CT generally thought that he's like, because I think CT thinks like, yeah, Paulie's a Weasley guy, and that's not a guy you want to face in elimination theoretically. But I guess it is from what we fucking saw.
And I think if you're Horacio at this point, your mind should go, okay, Paulie's gone. Me and Kylan need to go talk to Theo immediately. Like immediately.
They need to buddy back up with Olivia.
Yeah.
And keep that whole crew together.
Yeah.
Theo, I mean, last place in that daily challenge, but now I'm thinking he's a contender to win again single-handedly with one elimination.
I know. And, even after that, I had to laugh. It's not funny, but it's hilarious, I guess. Paulie, like in his confessional, was saying, this is really embarrassing, and I even watched it back. I bet he is dreading the episode airing and just the backlash because he knew like this is an easy loss. Like he did not even put up a fight.
Paulie knows there's certain things he could do. Like he could do crazy stuff, like
like stand on an ice block and throw things at his opponent while fire burns beneath it.
No, I was gonna say like post videos of him like sing Papa Roach and like dance crazy at reunions and cheat on his girlfriends at the time, and he can recover from that. But he knows the clip of Theo bowling him over is going to be in everyone's minds for future Hall Brawls, for future pole wrestles. Because up until this point, we'd never seen Paulie in a true headbanger, and the thought was that he would hold up pretty well because he's an athletic guy. He's got some muscle on him. I didn't think he'd be like overwhelming, but I didn't think he'd be a layup like this. And like credit to Theo because like you built yourself up and buried Paulie at the same time.
Yeah, I always thought that Paulie could give just about any competitor a fight in a physical elimination. Like I didn't think it would ever end like this.
And I maintain, as I think both of you will as well, this is the best thing for Kara's game for Paulie to go. Like he tanks it every time.
The way he was like fighting all her battles and like stoking the flames, he's making the TV moment, but he's not increasing her path to victory. Like he's just looking for airtime. She doesn't need airtime. She's going to get airtime simply by breathing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I will give credit to Tori because she talked in the Horacio and Nurys section that Horacio and Nurys are the classic challenge couple where they're isolating themselves, and that's kind of what you don't want Kara and Paulie to do. And now that Paulie's gone, it helps Kara's game. Nurys and Horacio, they put a target on themselves in a way where they're not really communicating with anyone else. And that was mostly the edit this week, which I found a little bit confusing because Olivia tweeted out, and other people have even mentioned it. I think even Nurys was like, in that deliberation last week, apparently Olivia essentially volunteered, agreed to face Nurys in elimination, was kind of gracious about it, and was like, "Hey, I effed you over. If you want to face me in elimination, let's just do it and let's get it over with." But they didn't show that this week,
right? Which maybe they wanted the audience to think the rivalry is still there. And I won't spoil it yet, but later we find out it's not.
Let's jump right into it. Like that elimination, it's very clear that Olivia still feels bad at what she did to Nurys and was remorseful because Olivia won this Hall Brawl elimination 2-0, and I would say that she did not even give 100%. She was not, compared to the Olivia we saw in that Hall Brawl with Raven. Yes, it was a different format of Hall Brawl, but that competitor versus the one we saw today, there's a stark difference where she did not want to hurt her friend, and she kind of let Nurys off easy, and even gave Nurys an opportunity to tie it up, and Nurys still couldn't do it.
I mean, that first round, Amanda booing them afterwards, and Devin yelling, "This is a contact sport. You got to do something." I think if they hadn't gotten so much shit from the crowd, the next round would have gone exactly the same. But I think that there was an awakening of okay, no, we have to tangle a little bit. And Nurys, if in that first round, if by barely getting bumped, she couldn't win the round, she had to do something differently the next time. Yeah, it was not a fun to watch Hall Brawl because I just felt like Olivia was underperforming and Nurys just didn't have a chance.
And one of you said this last week or the week before, I can't remember who, but it helped me put things in perspective because I was so disappointed with Nurys's daily performance. And I was like, this is not good for her. It was Allan that said this. So this is not good for her reputation. And you said, to love Nurys is to love a flawed character. And I would rather that than somebody who's a superstar. There was somebody on Twitter recently. It was Veronica. She said that Kara's fans are the reason that people don't like Kara because they have given Kara the mindset that she cannot go on the show and lose or else she's a failure. So I'm going to warp my brain as a Nurys fan and say that this is the best thing that could have happened as her losing because it doesn't set her up on a pedestal and it allows her to be human. But her crying before she even went into the elimination had me don't do that. It shows that she's human, but yes, it also showed that she was even scared of Olivia. But again, knowing what it is, I can't blame her. I'd be scared to go in Hall Brawl against Olivia.
She knew she was there was a significant deficit in this part of her game. Now, do I want if anyone watched rugby during the Olympics here, you can be tiny and learn to tackle. I need Nurys to go find her local rugby club or set up some sort of influencer thing with Alona Mar and like have that woman teach her how to tackle because she can do it. She's just got to learn.
Here's the irony. Didn't Nurys say she used to play rugby? Or is that Amanda?
It's Amber Borzotra.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking of small girls. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or let's get Zoe to teach her. Let's just get Zoe to teach Nurys. Nurys is from Maine. Zoe's from Vermont. It's, basically the same state. I don't know if that's true, but I'm sorry.
New England's all like one thing, basically. So, yeah.
Nurys has room to grow, though. That's the thing, too, where it's like, if nothing Nurys did here should take away from season 39, because season 39 was the Nurys season. I don't like this outcome because I think she's one of the few genuine stars to be produced from the challenge in the last few years. So to see her go out so early and not represent her era for at least 7 to 8 episodes, that's a disappointment. That's a setback. But she does have room to grow. She can get better in the water. She can learn to tackle. Is she ever going to be like a headbanger force? Most likely not. Is she ever going to be a fish in the water? Most likely not. But she can make it to where she's not a complete layup and she's not getting purged. That's the goal.
Yeah. We need to see some like baseline competency levels rise. And she doesn't need to be elite at it, but she's got to improve those areas of her game. And because I do think she will be a face of this show for the foreseeable future, it is worth putting in the time to do so.
Right. I mean, she was in all the promo, which I know that part of that is like not leading into spoilers and like it's a big shock that she's gone, but they see the star potential in her. And I think also her going out first, almost guarantee she'll be back the next season to redeem herself. It's not like she goes deep and's like, I need a break. You've had a pretty long break at this point. You had a nice trip to Vietnam and then you went home.
I miss her already.
Same. Like we have to go until December when she's not there.
If we're lucky. If we're lucky.
Or January. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I guess the math is January.
And you mentioned Cara before, and like part of the reasons why Cara was such a good player to watch grow over the years that she was flawed. She was bad in the water. I mean, she still is bad in the water, but she was awful in the water. She wasn't good with heights. There were just a lot of parts of the game that she really wasn't the best in. And for some reason, you know what? Yeah, let's talk about Cara and Laurel first. Let's talk about Cara and Laurel and Cara and Kellyanne first, because I have no idea what's going on with Laurel here because she's talking about Cara like she's still that player on Cutthroat, where she's saying like, "Oh, I'm tired of carrying Cara Marie on my team. She's a B- player. Like she's not very good. She weighs me down." And then in other confessionals, being like, "I'm terrified of facing Cara Maria." So it's all over the place.
Recently, Laurel tweeted, I think Cara should stop focusing so much on me and worry about the game. I stay in her mind. And I'm sorry. While that could possibly be true, I'm not going to say that it's not. Laurel could be on vacation on a tropical island and she is on Twitter replying to Stan accounts bashing Cara. Her confessionals on this season and All Stars 4, I would almost say 90% of them were bashing Cara. She truly is delusional. And then she's like, I don't care about Cara outside of the show. You are on Twitter tweeting about her. On a day the episode is not even close to airing, you are obsessed.
I mean, at some point when she's talking about her, she talks about their history and how there's like these bad feelings, but also a lot of love. And I was like, girl, stop saying you have any love for her. You don't. Like, you just the way that you talk about her and disrespect her constantly. Like, I don't know if you just don't know what love is because Nicole Zanata is your most serious relationship, but like, that's not love. You have no love in your heart for this girl. You love to feel superior to her. You love like to look down on her. What is up with these reactions today? But like, you don't. She's obsessed with Cara, and I'm glad that Cara's like, while we gave Tori shit for being too affected by Amanda, I think Cara's just holding her ground and just not being a complete doormat to these people treating her like shit. There is no reason Cara Maria should have been in that elimination. It was so disrespectful, so stupid. Like, shame on Johnny Bananas as well. He's such a loser. Like, embarrassing for Laurel and Johnny that they're so threatened by Kara's star power that they put her in this elimination. Embarrassing for them.
And you know what? That's exactly what it is. Because when Johnny is going off at Paulie and Kara, I wouldn't say on, at, he's like, what are you going to offer me? And when Kara tries to interject, he's like, I'm going to talk to the rational person in this relationship. Are you kidding me? That is so just like degrading to Kara, knowing who the rational person is in that relationship. And you're right. It all boils down that Laurel and Johnny wanted to be the stars of Era 2 and run the whole thing. I mean, Laurel just tweeted on Monday or Sunday of this week that if she had to do a season with someone, she wanted to be partnered with Johnny and they could represent Era 2. Like, that's what she wanted. You just don't like Kara. And I get so tired of her being like, it's like this little sister, big sister thing. That's how we know you're an only child. Most sibling relationships are not like that at all. Like, at all.
Especially not as adults.
Correct.
Between the two, I will say I do think Bananas voting her in makes only a little more sense based on the sheer fact that the last time they were on a season together, she did vote him into elimination against Theo. And that's the only thing I'll say in terms of like, okay, if you're going what happened last, yeah, but Kara should not have gone thrown into this elimination, especially the way Kara talked to him in the deliberation, is the way she was very like matter of fact. I thought it was mindless, especially when like Aviv is the other choice and you don't know Aviv.
Right.
Well, and that was his whole rationale, was like, she should have come to me before deliberation. It shouldn't have just happened in deliberation. She said all the right things and she had great points, but she should have wanted to mend things with me before then. How am I supposed to know it's real? And it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like,
if Kara had won that daily and said the same things about Bananas, he would have a fit. And he'd be like, why would I do that? Like, I cannot stand it.
and I still think at this point, depending on how it looks like this season's going, if Kara was in a position of power, I don't think she would immediately throw Johnny in because she knows her team needs him. Because I don't think she would be that petty in that moment. I really don't.
Yeah.
So Kara faces Kellyanne in Gimme Shelter, the not so fast variant. And these two women really put in work in their shelters. I mean, Kara had, I think, a pretty decent strategy where she's going rope, knots, etc., and she was actually getting it from the get-go. I think Kellyanne, it took her like a minute to get going. I remember like Laurel and Bananas were trying to tell her like stuff to do from the crowd, and they're like, "We think Kellyanne can pull this off." And then they pan on Kellyanne. It's like, "Where's the beginning of this rope?" And that, but as it went on, though, Kellyanne was like scaling it, doing a bunch of cool stuff. Cars putting a bunch of barriers up, put a giant wheel around it, tied ropes around the giant wheel. Compared to the men, I thought these two women were killing it.
I agree. And I want to backtrack really quick before we keep talking about the elimination. I just wanted to point out, too, when Kellyanne had the conversation with Bananas and Laurel wanted to act like she was upset, I feel bad. And Kellyanne said, good. It's really good for you to show some human emotions. I was like, if Kellyanne, of all people, is clocking this, like, take a look in the mirror. Fast forward to elimination.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're both performing at this elimination at a high level. When it's time to unravel the ropes, they're both doing, I think, a really good job. Carmen revealed that whenever her necklaces get tied up, she just throws them away.
So relatable, honestly.
I like that she knows, like, well, I buy them for $1, and I'm like, all right, that's fair.
I found it really interesting that Rachel had the confessional where she said, every single person in Era 1 is siding with Kara. And this whole Kara Laurel thing, we're Team Kara. And I believe that through and through, Era 1 actually is. I don't think Era 3 is, but I would even go as far to say that Era 4 is as well. I think Laurel grossly, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like she thinks that she's got people and that everybody hates Kara. I don't think that's the case.
I think Kara, well, so Kara's not fake. I think in the context of the social stuff in the house, I think Kara hangs out with who she wants to hang out with and doesn't like, she's not socially gaming, right? Especially in a house like this, she's just going to hang out with who she wants to hang out with. And Laurel hasn't picked up on the fact that like most people are nice to her because she makes them uncomfortable. That's my perception.
I'd go as far to say that the only people that were really cheering for Kellyanne were Bananas, Laurel, Derek, Jordan, and Tori, and then everyone else was either indifferent or Team Kara. I think Era 4, a lot of them they didn't compete with Kara, and so they're just fans of her, just because they're like literal fans. And then Era 1, like they can also just sense Laurel and Johnny's bad vibes too, and that's why, especially when they're yelling so loud. I would say Kellyanne, who was getting rooted for and helped by Era 2, she didn't even like them cheering for her, and she even yelled at them, please just stop. Just stop right now. Just let me do my thing.
Yeah. I hate that these two end up against each other, like, because that is one of Kara's only like real friends, and I say real with an asterisk next to it. I know they've hung out outside of the show, so I'm going to say real friend. I wish we could have seen it, like Kara have like a real friendship that's not evil.
You're taking the two best personalities on this era and putting them in the first elimination, and that means we're losing one of them. And that, to me, is such a bummer when you have two pieces of dry toast standing there watching.
I don't think I've ever had a moment in this show where I've rooted against Kellyanne until today. Just because I think like even when she's a little bit off, like watching her compete is just still fun, especially because she's usually facing like tougher opponents and like she's like, I don't know. She's just really awesome to watch compete because she moves her body in just ways that other people don't. I mean, when she was literally scaling the wall to try and form as tight of a knot as possible, I thought that was really cool. And as I thought it was cool, I was like, okay, Cara, get through that knot as quickly as you can. And it's a bit tough to tell in the edit, but apparently Kellyanne was like within seconds away from victory. Cara rips open her door and gets the win. She ties the record back with Aneesa, takes back the elimination record. And thank God Kara's still here.
For the sake of the season, for sure. And I thought, like, imagine if she had left. I mean, I think Kellyanne's a loss. I don't want to like undercut Kellyanne. Huge loss. This is someone who should have been on the main show for kind of years now. Like I think if she'd made it onto Vendettas, how crazy that would have been, considering she was an alternate on location. I hate it for Kellyanne. I hate it for her psychic who just got fired. But gosh.
Yeah, I mean, we've said multiple times that we think Kellyanne's the best female competitor to never win. I argue she won All Stars 1 because people say that her and John A tied, but my tiebreaker is who made it up the mountain first, and that was Kellyanne. So it's very similar to like Nurys' 39 arc, like did all the things, finished in a champion's place just without the title. Yeah, Kellyanne is always going to be a good TV personality too. Like she's always going to be part of conversation. She's going to stick up for herself. She's not going to just go with the flow. Like she refuses to like partake in those vacation alliance sort of relationships because she's just an authentic person who sometimes is a little crazy and cracked, but like great TV. I'm really sorry that we're losing her this early.
Yeah.
And it is like she's the first boot, and the way she's the first boot is she takes Cara, one of the greatest female competitors in challenge history, literally to her limit. And it's just that's the story of Kellyanne. Because you can't watch his elimination and go, wow, she's like a layup. Like, no. Cara gave her best, she gave her best, and they were within seconds away of each other. I'll miss her.
Yeah, me too. And just to point out, I know people will be like, well, she got there because she lost the daily. I think she said the last episode, if this were overall, I would have been way ahead. This era is just stacked as far as women go. I hate it for her.
Mm-hmm. We then had the men's side, and Brandon kind of threw a little bit of he threw a fit basically because he's like, I would have beat Ryan in these other 3 eliminations, And you're not wrong, Brandon. You would have beat Ryan in those in hall brawl, pole wrestle, balls in. But just because you would beat Ryan in those eliminations does not make you a good competitor. Um, they played the not so fast variant, and just because Ryan beats you does not make him a good player either. But it's again, you can't throw a fit because it's part of the game. It's someone had to get these eliminations. Other people definitely wish they had them, but you got to play the elimination right in front of you. And if you think Ryan sucks so much, beat him in this.
I honestly thought Ryan played this elimination pretty brilliantly. I thought he did a really great job tying all those knots right where the door was going to open, like not bothering going all the way across. I thought he did awesome. Um Again, I don't think that makes him a better competitor than Brandon, but I think it made him smarter in this elimination. And honestly, from a television standpoint, I'd rather have Ryan here.
I'm a Ryan hater historically. He's just been saying facts this entire season. He's just been from like the launch match to now. Ryan has not said anything wrong. I think he's kind of spitting and he kicked ass in this elimination. His strategy was great. It was reminiscent of like the CT original not so fast strategy when he just put all his knots together. He just had that one metallic rope just going that'd be so hard. And then you looked at Brandon's cell and his ropes were so loose the entire time. I'm like, dude, actually like tie your ropes tight. Like those like if they were shoelaces, those are coming off real fast.
Ryan was using his entire body weight to tie those ropes. He was literally hanging from them to tie the knots as tight as possible. It was great. And there's the added element too of he's anti-Laurel right now, which makes him Team Cara, which I think is something we desperately need. We need some people that are going to be on her team vocally. I think there's going to be a lot of people that like Cara, hang out with Cara, but I don't think there's a lot of people that are willing to go toe to toe with Laurel. And we've already seen that kind of brewing in the background that he's sick of her. So I'm ready to see what that will mean as far as a blow up on the show.
Yeah, like spoiler or not, Ryan wins the elimination kind of with ease. And this solidifies all the people gone. A lot of them are Cara's actual alliance members, not just people she's friendly with, but like Amanda and her said we're going to work together. Her and Nurys came and working together. It's not been shown, but they were. Paulie being gone. Mark has reverence for her. Like Brandon is Team Cara. They amended things in the past, which I think by association makes Leroy kind of Team Cara. Like it paves a really difficult road for her going forward. But she's got Ryan.
Yeah, you got Ryan. A little stat I actually figured out was that these two men, neither of them have won an elimination since 2010, and they combined had an 8 elimination losing streak. So that record was going to get broken. You know, one of them had to win.
Yeah.
Maybe Tyree should have been on the season.
Hey, he was giving me deadlifting techniques a week or two ago. After threatening to beat me up years ago, Tyree, good guy in my book now.
Well, what if Dunbar had taken one of their places?
Oh God.
Anyway,
moving on. So Mark, Katie, Kellyanne, Brandon, Amanda, Leroy, Nurys, and
Paulie
are gone. Some big losses right there. Some not so much. No offense, Brandon. Katie, I love you. That elimination was great, but that was probably the end of your right here. And Leroy, based on what I saw, Mark, based on what I saw,
Kellyanne, Amanda, Paulie, and Nurys. That hurts.
yeah. Yeah. The three women in particular for me, I was like, those are three huge personalities and like people that either you love or you might hate to have on your screen, but they create genuine tension, like storylines that are not inauthentic, like just real great reality TV personalities. I'm really sorry to see those three ladies go.
Yeah.
And TJ tells all the players to leave the arena except for those who lost the elimination, which makes everyone in the arena very curious, like what's going on? What's going on? We're not getting a redemption house twist or anything like that. But we are having the twist, which is karma points, where players are taking a survey and awarding between 5 to 1, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 karma points based on who they like best, which is a challenge miscongeniality award that might play a factor in the final the way the Stars did on All Stars 4. I am not a fan of this personally, just because I don't like it.
When I first heard about it, it's when spoilers came out, I was like, of this, like this allows people who are gone to stay in the game. And then I was like, oh, I hate this because this allows people who are gone to stay in the game. This isn't like it's a social game, but not to that extent.
Yeah, I also don't like the whole like how you treat people matters, because part of what we're trying to get on this show is conflict and drama and like bad blood. Like we create these rivalries and these damaged relationships to create future storylines. So I kudos to Challenge Production for trying something, right? Like they're, at least you can tell there's like thought going into this, at least. Like they're like, how can we spice this up and make it interesting? I don't I will be a hypocrite if it helps out people I'm rooting for, probably. I'll be stoked about it, but I don't think it's a real reasonable way for this game to be impacted. And I also don't know how it will be impacted. I have no idea what actual things are going to happen based on this. I left feeling like, I gotta see how it goes, I guess.
Optimistically, the way I would hope it affects the game the most is that sometimes, because when I'm doing my player previews, I remember that we had seasons like Rivals 3 and Free Agents where they just randomly have an elimination before the final. Where they're just randomly, like, two people just draw a card. If the karma points had it to where, like, say we're like at final 12 and there's 6 and 6 each on each side, and like, hey, whoever had the least karma points, you're going into elimination, and then you got to pick your opponent. Maybe that would be an okay twist.
The
But
most
like that
is
would
safe.
Whoever
be,
had the most, yeah.
yeah, whoever, yeah. And like that would be like an okay twist in my opinion. If you're just trying to cut people off before the final instead of a purge, as like, if it's anything more than that, I don't know if I like it. If it definitely affects the final the way we saw it affect the All Stars 4 final, to where now we're, you know, I I wouldn't be a fan.
Yeah.
We did get the moment though of Amanda giving Cara a 5, which it was just this wild full circle, like I can't believe I'm living on this timeline moment. I hope that there are clips of that like saved and shared regularly. It's weird because like I'm there with them. I've taken this ride kind of simultaneously where I've done this full 180 on Cara, and I was just like, that's growth. I mean, like I loved it.
It has me wanting a season desperately where we can get Amanda working with Cara. Like I don't even know what that would look like,
Yeah.
but like I'm craving it now.
Something we do need though, desperately, is production after every episode. They need to tweet out what the karma points are from each person for each player, because if not, it's going to get real suspect at the end of the season. It's
Yep.
like, oh, this person had the most, oh, this person had the least. Like, if they don't do that, you're going to be smelling out some bullshit. It's gonna
There's
conspiracies are
severe.
going to brew.
And honestly, if they were going to do this, they should be asking for fan buy-in too in some way. Like,
Oh yeah, that would actually be like, if it's like 50% them, 50% fans, that would actually be an interesting way to do it. I mean, obviously you can't do it because it's not a live show like Big Brother.
you can't impact the outcome of the game, but you can have a fan favorite like they do on Survivor. There's no reason you can't cut someone a
Yeah.
$50,000 check for being fan favorite for getting most karma points per episode or something.
Free
Or
Burger King
even
for a year.
Something
we
like something. Get the engagement going.
if you didn't announce the winner to the reunion, a la Dirty 30, and like set up until week 8 of the season, like you can cast your vote. Like, I don't know. I think that would be very cool.
Any other closing thoughts?
Yes. Yeah, I think get the actual trailer. Like, I know we've gotten
Yeah.
a trailer. This is the best one by and far, in my opinion.
I agree, and I had to I'm like kind of trying to look away. I'm trying to look forward because I'm like, oh, there's some really big spoilers very clearly in this trailer, and then some I'm trying to be really into.
My favorite part was Tori saying, "I can't believe you'd come at me like that as my friend." And then Josh says, "We're not friends." I hope that's the same conversation. It could be spliced, but
I hope so because I've been tweeting out for years, Josh, Tori's not your friend. She keeps throwing you under the bus every single time, basically. Um, oof. This podcast always goes longer than I expect,
Oh,
in the best way possible. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. Numbers been up because of you guys. We appreciate you all so much. If you're in the fantasy league, the link for the fantasy spreadsheet will be down below from week 1. It's taking me more time than expected, but
a lot of work,
it'll
Al.
be
Thank you for doing
it'll
that.
be in the
That's a lot.
bio description. Have a good weekend, everyone. Subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, wherever you get this podcast on. Have a good weekend.